Welcome to Email After Hours by SenderScore, powered by Validity.
We're your hosts. My name is Guy Hansen.
And I'm Danielle Gallant, and this is Email After Hours.
Faithful Email After Hours listeners will know that I somehow managed to weave online dating anecdotes into most episodes that we record. And this time, it actually applies. Happy belated Valentine's Day, Guy.
Happy belated Valentine's Day indeed, Danielle. And we're sure that everyone's inboxes were filled with red and pink messages and loads of hearts and kisses. And while Valentine's Day is a major event for email marketers, don't you think the brands should be treating their subscribers with that level of love all year round? So today we're going to talk about all things Valentine's Day, but, how they should carry on through the rest of the year too. Shall we jump in?
Yes, please. With so many other big holidays, it's rarely just one day, right? We're not all sending our Christmas emails on one day or our Valentine's emails on one day. And often there are a couple other holidays that weave themselves in there. So the first thing I want to talk about is that Valentine's Day exists. It's not just a day for couples anymore. We've got gifts for friends, pets, for yourself. I know you have a couple of really good pet examples, Guy.
I do. They're lying quietly by my right elbow as we speak.
Yeah, Nixon, the Email After Hours mascot, is here too, which I've just decided Email After Hours mascot. But there was one email that stood out to me, a Valentine's Day email from Native Pet. And it was just very simple. The real loves of our life are our dogs. And I think it's so true. But celebrating your friends, your pets, your family, it's just another excuse to buy somebody a lovely gift. Don't you think that's right?
I love that. And I've thought about it before. A little while back, we actually talked about this with our friends at Pretty Litter. And they love to have some fun with this event. They're great at using really playful language just to focus on that love between their customers and their cats in this particular case. And they're not above tugging on the heartstrings too. And they've come up with some great subject lines over the time. It's a perfect match for your cat's litter box, and feline the love, and a Valentine's Day just for me. It's great. I think there's a lot you can do with this event. And as you say, not just for romantic partners. It's for friends, it's for co-workers, it's for classmates, teachers, and even pets.
And I'm always here for a pun, for a punny pun. So I love those examples. I think it's also important for us to remember that, like other events and other holidays, we've seen an increase in senders sort of making a conscious effort to treat their subscribers with sensitivity like they do all year round. So that means maybe asking subscribers if they want to opt out of Valentine's Day emails, or if they just want to simply do what you love, Guy, which is press pause and take a snooze. So in your opinion, does it ever become too much? Does sending these individual holiday-specific opt-out questions get overwhelming or backfire?
It's an interesting one because you and I have chatted about this before, and I think we've both, over the last couple of years, been big fans of the sort of snooze option, sort of take a temporary break, especially if the event's, there's the risk that it's going to cause some emotional distress. But I'll tell you one thing that struck me in the run-up to this Valentine's Day is I feel like I've seen far less of those "do you want to take a temporary break" emails. And I think what's going on is we kind of got to the point where there were so many of those emails going, "Hey, Danielle, do you want to take a break from Valentine's Day?" And if you genuinely were a bit emotionally traumatized by Valentine's Day, having 60 emails in your inbox reminding you about it probably wasn't the greatest option. And I think we definitely seem to be seeing more programs now making this part of their preference center options. And there's been a great initiative led by Bloom and Wild, the florist, I knew what I meant. And they've actually christened it the Thoughtful Marketing Initiative. And not only are they in their own preference center providing quite a broad range of event-specific opt-outs, but actually challenging and guiding other marketers to do the same. And they've got about 170 brands sort of signed up to them, to this initiative, as a commitment to, this more thoughtful approach to these potentially painful for some events.
I love that. And I mean, for the record, I am traumatized by Valentine's. But I know we talked about this with, you mentioned a preference center, and we talked about this with Allison on one of our recent episodes. But there's also something to be said about, there's two things really, right? Don't overwhelm subscribers with questions. So maybe just respect preferences that they've already provided, maybe last year, or if it's within the last couple of years. And I love the idea of doing like a new year, new me for your program, which is sending out an update your preference center email at the beginning of the year. We're going to talk about why getting some email volume at the beginning of the year is really important a little bit later. But I just love ask out of the gate. You don't have to go back.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, another thing that strikes me is that remember that, of course, that you are speaking to multiple different sub-audiences with perhaps slightly different needs from the same event. And it's only about having some smart customer segments. And I remember our good friend Jen Parton at Hickory Farms was explaining how she does it. And, especially for Valentine's, she has one segment which is basically just promoting their core products with a Valentine's theme. But then she has a storytelling version with some fun ideas for date night, and the budget-friendly version to help those money-conscious customers, because actually it's still quite a while till the next payday. So she's speaking to sort of some specifically defined audiences rather than one size fits all. And I feel like that's a very solid approach too.
And on that note, and I promise I won't dive too deeply into this, but I'm Canadian. There is a bit of an initiative to shop local right now. That's another thing we've been talking about for ages, right? But really supporting local businesses. So if you've got that element and you can create that really well-defined segment and tell a story that way, hey, seize that opportunity, not just for Valentine's Day, but it's a good one.
We sometimes talk about songs on this show. Do you have a favorite Valentine's related song, Danielle?
You made a note that you were going to ask about this earlier. And I was like, what's a Valentine's Day song? And I started looking through my phone to be like, what have I been listening to lately? Honestly, I'm afraid to even share. You go first.
Well, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but there's a great song by Aerosmith called Falling in Love is Hard on the Knees. And, and I've got to tell you, in my early days of dating, that could have been my soundtrack. So
yeah, I'm no longer as afraid to tell you what I've been listening to then. I think this works. It's not a song, but the band Heart. I've been listening to a lot of Heart lately. I don't know. It's applicable and it meets the theme.
And you're buying local.
And I'm buying local. There you go. And actually, just because we're getting into the theme now, and I am dying to talk about them, can we please start to talk about some of the outrageous or fun Valentine's Day examples that we've curated? And Guy, we are not on this episode just talking about the love sausage, the infamous love sausage, that you may have to give a little bit of a note to that.
Okay, we'll cover that one off quickly for the benefit of our audience wondering what the hell is the love sausage. Marks and Spencer's in the UK over the past few years have come up with this genius Valentine's Day promotion where it's two large Cumberland sausages sort of formed into a heart shape, and you sort of cook them up with a little heart-shaped egg, and it's a beautiful thing. But as you might imagine, the double entendre that goes with the Valentine's love sausage is a thing to behold. I do have some blog posts from years gone by on that one. That's quite enough. But you know what? You're right. I mean, over the years, we've seen some real zingers. I remember the year that McDonald's, the burger company, they went all Tinder and there's sort of 6 different burger options in your email, and you had to sort of choose which one was going to be your Valentine's date. And then, do you remember El Paso Zoo? So this was like a slightly different take on it. Valentine's Day is coming up. Name a cockroach after your ex.
I do remember. Okay, I love it. I love it so much. But I have a punch up or a note should the El Paso Zoo ever want to run a similar campaign. Guys, if we're naming it Cockroach after our ex, cockroaches survive everything. They make it
They
through everything.
do.
Let's do slugs next time or something.
I remember the CEO of Slack years ago. He once memorably described email marketing as the cockroach of the internet. For exactly
Wow.
that reason, it is whether you loved it or not, it was indestructible. It was always
Yeah.
going to be that.
It's
Anyway,
not going away.
so bringing us up to speed, you want to hear about sort of one or two campaigns from this year that stood out. I feel like my headline story, Danielle, was Ann Summers. And I think anyone in our audience that's not familiar with them, sort of think Victoria's Secret, but they get down to a slightly sort of racier end of the product line as well, sort of toys and gadgets and stuff. And they did a fabulous email this year. Subject line was, which date night will you choose? And the subject line had sort of red lips and chili pepper emojis. It was getting quite spicy already. Then you went into it and it was great. It was like an interactive email and you had 6 different options. Are you going to have a Netflix and chill evening? Are you going to have a dinner and dessert evening? You going out for a naughty weekend? You're going to have a damn right dirty Valentine's Day? Those were the options. And you could click on them. And as you clicked on them, they automatically updated the voting counters, which was pretty smart. And then they, whichever one you went through, it took you through to a range of product items, which was aligned with the vote that you just cast. So really, really smart email, dynamic, interactive, and actually a really great source of zero-party data too. So what's not to like?
What's not to like? And honestly, I thought we were past this point, but I feel myself, I'm turning red a little bit. I thought
I left out some of the worst options.
I know you did. Like seeing this email, I thought my option, my example was going to be a little bit clever and then a little bit risque. And I had to bring it up because it's a company called or brand called Everest. And because Validity's tool, our data platform, is called Everest, this is spelled slightly differently. They're promoting sustainability, right? In products and in the way you use them, in the way you interact with the world. And I just loved this. It was save water, shower together. And I thought, clever. I appreciate it.
That's lovely. I've also got a surprise for you, Danielle.
Oh, no. Okay.
I want to tell you about Charlotte Tilbury. They did this lovely email. Charlotte Tilbury, again, anyone in the audience doesn't know them. They're sort of high-end beauty products is what I meant to say. And they also did this great interactive email, and subject line was play Charlotte's Magic Valentine's Day game. And you went into it and there was like 3 red hearts and you had to choose the right heart. And if you did, you were going to win a prize. And Danielle, you'll be delighted to know I did win a prize. I won a mini Charlotte's Magic Crystal Elixir and a mini Exaggerized Volume Mascara. I was overjoyed. But
here's your gift. There's your Valentine's Day
Danielle,
gift.
my Charlotte Tilbury adventure was only just starting because then I got to use their Wizzy AI tool to find my perfect scent match.
Oh.
And this was great. I had so much fun with this. So you go into this interactive questionnaire. And first of all, it asks you a question. What kind of mood do you want to be in? Do you want to be in a mood of love, a mood of seduction? Do you want to feel empowered? So you choose your options. Then it asks you what kind of scent you got in mind. Floral, musk, woody, spicy amber. And how intense, light to fully intense, and where do you want to take this? Where do you want this smell to take you to? Rush of passion, aura of love, tranquil oasis. And then I hit go. You want to know what happened?
Tell us.
They recommended a fragrance called Love Frequency, an all-encompassing love portal, I kid you not. And its top note, I'll read you this. It's a flash of addictive pink pepper with romantic rose essence and a sensual basic note of cashmere surrounding you in an aura of universal love. So hats off to Charlotte Tilbury because that's where their Valentine's email took me.
In case anybody ever doubts, that guy is not out here doing the boots on the ground investigation for these episodes. He goes through it. And this is the second time that I've been surprised that you knew who Charlotte Tilbury even was. So amazing. It sounds like a lovely scent. Now we all know your scent, guy.
I'm a man of many surprises.
There was one more, though, that I just wanted to flag, which I thought was kind of exciting and kind of maybe odd. It prompted a question that we've asked before. Do we think that every brand should be sending out a Valentine's Day email? And the one I wanted to mention was I saw a Taco Bell Valentine's Day email. I don't know.
I don't want
Yes,
to taco about it.
I do love a taco. But like, what do you think?
I feel like some brands are better suited to it than others. And I think this applies to many promotions. Sometimes it's your day and sometimes it's better just to stay on the sidelines.
And I think, like any holiday, it's easy to make deliverability challenging choices when we're going around for sending big bulk volumes. And actually, we wanted to bring this up specifically for Valentine's Day because our data shows dips in inbox placement post-Christmas, post-Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday madness. So as just a general note to all of the senders listening, if your Valentine's Day results aren't where they should be or a little bit low, this could be deliverability related. So we definitely wanted to take the opportunity to talk about that good old inbox placement, our bread and butter, and say, it's really important to target highly engaged subscribers in January so that you can rebuild any reputation issues that might have cropped up after the holidays. And that just ties it back to please send a preference center promotion email because we want to avoid the holiday spam complaint hangover for those future events.
I think that's right. And I think especially Valentine's, it poses some really unique challenges because if you think about it, the promotional window is like a really narrow one and the shelf life of the typical products that are being promoted is often very short. But then sort of balanced against that, there can be like this really big gap between consideration and purchase. And I guess from a deliverability point of view, there's a few thoughts on there. I mean, the one is don't start too soon, especially in my part of the world. Blue Monday in January is now like a big part of the marketing calendar. And it's not so much that there's Blue Monday promotions, but remembering what Blue Monday is about. There you are, sort of third Monday in January, and everyone's feeling pretty miserable about life. The weather's awful and payday's still like weeks away. And you're probably not quite ready to think about Valentine's Day at that stage. So don't go too soon, but also don't go too late because often that sort of shipping cutoff is a good week before. So you don't want to miss the boat. I'll tell you another one that's occurred to me, Danielle, and we've chatted about it once or twice. Beware Gmail annotations for time-specific promotions because I think we've seen what Gmail's doing. And if you haven't put those annotations, code snippets into your marketing emails, Gmail's using its AI to do it for you in a lot of cases. And it's really not helpful when it finds like a special promotion. Obviously, it's not going to carry on past Valentine's Day. And it serves it up as your code snippet in the promotions going, hey, here's this great Valentine's offer. Oh, by the way, it's expired.
Yes. And actually on that note too, I'm intrigued by, iOS 18, right? Everybody's talking about it. We've had a whole episode about it. And I've already seen emails from clients that are kind of attempting to game the system in the same way that senders tried to do when Gmail way back when announced tabs, right? So now iOS 18, of course, will have primary transactions, blah, blah, blah. But they will also have priority notifications. So those are time-sensitive messages. And these are more likely to end up in primary. I'm just wondering how many marketers are going to try to add some time-sensitive stuff and game that system and are going to regret it later because we know they will regret it later. Subscribers want messages to be classified appropriately.
I know, that's right. And I think we've spoken to the big mailbox providers about this before. And, their guidance is don't, subscribers know where to look for those emails and they will find them there. And speaking about mailbox providers, I think the last piece of big guidance for any of these big events, including Valentine's, we've heard this from Microsoft and Yahoo and Gmail, especially for those batched up bulk sends, don't send them top of hour because that's what everybody else is doing. And, Marcel at Yahoo's told us 70% of all the inbound volume they process is in the first 10 minutes of every hour. And guess what? It creates deliverability challenges. So offset those sends a little bit. Send them at 10 past or 1:45, and your deliverability will get a load better.
Yeah. And I know today's episode, well, maybe it's not. I was going to say it's short and sweet, but it's definitely sweet given today's topic. I just wanted to close up with a couple of questions. Guy, what do you think of Valentine's Day? Is it a holiday you like? Uh-oh.
So my wife would tell me that I'm not very good when it comes to romance, but I do try. And it's a special day for us because years ago we actually got we got engaged on Valentine's Day.
Oh.
I guess the way I feel about it, it's nice to have a specific date on the calendar that we can aim for. But I think, like the theme of today's conversation, I think consistent success requires all year round effort. And I think that's true of relationships. And you know what? Email marketing's just the same.
Totally agree. And P.S., I am here for any holiday that allows me to eat chocolate in bulk with impunity, which is what I feel like happens on Valentine's Day for me.
Now, just before we start wrapping up, we often talk about acronyms on this show as well, don't we?
Every episode, there's a new one.
Well, more of a history lesson. I was curious to know if there's like any sort of Valentine's specific acronyms. And I ended up going down this wormhole where I found out that actually the sort of first use of almost like, dare I say it, sexting style acronyms goes all the way back to our sort of grandparents and perhaps even our great grandparents during the World War. And it's because when they wrote their letters, two things were at play. The one was those letters had to be pretty short because they had restrictions on, and also, of course, they would get read by the censors. So they had to sort of figure out ways to sort of, take some of that slightly racier content out of the letters. So they came up with these incredible acronyms, most of which were based on the names of countries, because that would often be sort of relevant to where they were based or where they were heading. And you had acronyms like Malaya, which stood for My Ardent Lips Await Your Arrival.
You're right. Yeah, right.
And Burma, Be undressed and ready, my angel.
Our grandparents were way too saucy for this world. I love that so much. The gifts that keep on giving. Acronyms.
Okay. Do we need to start wrapping up, Danielle?
I think it's time, Guy. We've gone through a couple of wild episodes. We've given some legitimate tips in between those. But yes, I think it's time for us to wrap up.
Cool. Well, audience, I hope we haven't completely soured the love affair today and you've enjoyed today's musings and ramblings on email and love and the Venn diagram overlap between the two.
And of course, Guy and I are always seeking new people to feature on future episodes of Email After Hours. So if there's anyone out there listening who hasn't been scared off by Guy and I today, please reach out to us, drop us a comment, ping us on LinkedIn, or simply fill out the guest form that's linked in the show notes. We'd love to get you in the hot seat in the weeks to come. Thanks for listening.
Be sure to tune in next time and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And don't forget to visit senderscore.com for loads more great resources to help you become a stronger sender.
To all you